On quiet afternoons long ago, you might recall fried green tomatoes sizzling in the pan, or that unbelievably moist mayonnaise cake made with nothing but ingenuity. These 10 childhood recipes carried families through hard times and still spark joy today. From thrifty macaroni salad to sticky molasses taffy pulls, each dish tells a story of love, resourcefulness, and memory. Before we begin, hit like and subscribe. Today we revisit 10 recipes seniors remember from their childhood but never see anymore. Cold macaroni salad with peas and pickles. Picture a hot summer Sunday in the 1930s where families gathered under churchyard trees with long tables covered in mismatched dishes. At the center sat a big bowl of cold macaroni salad, the kind stretched from a single pound of elbow pasta. Mothers folded in blanched peas, chopped sweet pickles, and if luck allowed, a few diced hard-boiled eggs. The dressing was nothing fancy, just mayonnaise thinned with tangy pickle juice, but it clung to every bite, giving the dish a creamy sharpness that balanced the sweetness of the peas. Kids dug eagerly for the surprise chunks of pickle, while adults marveled at how this simple mixture could fill 8 bellies for less than $1. Its charm wasn't in extravagance, but in adaptability. Some households tossed in leftover ham, others added onions. What tied them all together was the sound of laughter around long picnic tables and the cool relief this salad brought on sweltering days. It wasn't just food, it was resourcefulness, served cold, proof that love could be stirred together even in the leanest times. Potato pancakes with applesauce. Imagine a chilly Saturday morning in the 1940s, the kitchen filled with the scrape sound of potatoes being grated on a metal box grater. Mothers worked quickly, sometimes nicking their knuckles to prepare crisp potato pancakes before the family woke. The mixture, grated potatoes, an egg, a spoonful of flour, and a pinch of salt was pressed into patties and dropped into hot bacon grease. The scent of frying potatoes drifted through the house, promising comfort before the day's chores began. The magic lay in the contrast, golden crust on the outside, tender warmth inside. And when paired with a scoop of homemade applesauce, the earthy savoriness turned into something almost sweet. Kids often competed to see who could eat the most, while parents appreciated how a handful of potatoes could stretch into a filling meal. This dish faded as lives grew busier and ready-made breakfasts replaced slow grating and careful frying. But for those who remember, the sound of that sizzle was the sound of abundance in hard times. If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. Your support helps keep these memories alive. Fried green tomato slices. Late summer in the 1950s meant gardens heavy with vines, some still full of tomatoes not yet ripe. Rather than let the first frost steal them, families turned those green orbs into golden treasures. Thick slices were dipped in seasoned cornmeal, then lowered into sizzling oil until the coating crackled crisp and the tomato inside softened to a tender, tangy bite. The kitchen filled with the scent of hot cornmeal, and you could hear the crunch before you tasted it. This wasn't just a dish, it was a family affair. Children helped slice the tomatoes, their fingers sticky with juice, while mothers kept the frying steady, ensuring each piece was eaten while still hot. Served alongside fried chicken or simply with fresh bread, fried green tomatoes became the very definition of waste not, want not cooking. What could have been discarded turned into a memory worth savoring. Over time, changing tastes in supermarket produce meant fewer people thought to fry what was unripe. Yet the memory lingers, tart and crisp, reminding us of practical wisdom passed down at the dinner table. Between the cool tang of macaroni salad, the hearty crunch of potato pancakes, and these golden tomato slices, if you had to choose only one to bring back, which would it be? Eggless mayonnaise cake. Picture a wartime kitchen in the 1940s, shelves half empty from rationing, yet the smell of chocolate still managed to drift from the oven. Mothers discovered a clever trick, using mayonnaise instead of eggs and butter. It sounded outrageous, but the result was a rich, dark cake with a tender crumb that stayed moist for days. Cocoa sugar and flour whisked together with spoonfuls of mayonnaise and a bit of water, creating a batter that looked unlikely but baked into celebration itself. Children never suspected their birthday cake came from the same jar spread on sandwiches. They only remembered the frosting, simple chocolate buttercream spread thick on top, hiding the secret ingredient. For families, this recipe meant birthdays and Sunday gatherings could still feel special even when grocery shelves were bare. Over time, as abundance returned and eggs were no longer precious, the mayonnaise cake faded quietly into memory. But it proved something powerful, that creativity in the kitchen could turn scarcity into sweetness. Each slice was more than dessert. It was resilience baked into every bite. Apple Brown Betty? Step into a kitchen on a crisp autumn afternoon in the 1930s when the scent of apples and cinnamon filled the air long before dessert was served. Mothers would layer tart cooking apples between crumbs of day-old bread tossed with butter, brown sugar, and spice. As it baked, the apples softened into a syrupy sweetness soaking into the breadcrumbs below, while the top turned golden and crunchy. The house seemed to glow with the aroma, promising comfort even before the first bite. This was thrift and indulgence woven together. Instead of wasting bread that had gone stale, it became the base of a pudding-like treat that felt almost luxurious. Served warm with a splash of cold milk or a dollop of cream, Apple Brown Betty was simple, but it made any meal end with a touch of celebration. It slowly disappeared as boxed cake mixes and frozen pies began to take over faster and flashier than an old bread and apple casserole. But for those who remember, the crunch of that caramelized top over soft spiced apples was the true taste of autumn evenings at home. Green bean casserole. Thanksgiving in the 1950s wasn't complete without one familiar dish bubbling on the table: green bean casserole. It was the simplest recipe imaginable: canned green beans folded into cream of mushroom soup, sprinkled with a mountain of crispy fried onions, then baked until the top turned golden. Yet somehow that trio of ingredients created a flavor greater than the sum of its parts. Children loved the crunch of the onions, while adults appreciated how quickly the dish could be prepared ahead of a busy holiday feast. It became more than food, it became a tradition, the kind of dish you expected to see at least once a year, whether at a church supper or a family gathering. As kitchens modernized and fresh vegetables became easier to buy year-round, the casserole lost some of its shine. But for millions, no Thanksgiving table felt complete without it. Between the creamy beans, the spiced apples of Brown Betty, and the clever mayonnaise cake, which of these mid-century staples would you want to taste again? If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. Your comments keep these memories alive. Drop yours below. Raisin-filled cookies. Imagine opening a lunch pail in the 1940s and finding what looked like an ordinary cookie until you bit into it. Inside, a sweet surprise waited: a jammy filling made from raisins simmered with sugar and spice. Mothers rolled out soft cookie dough, cut neat circles, and tucked spoonfuls of the thick raisin paste between two layers before sealing the edges with a fork. As they baked, the kitchen filled with the buttery scent of cookies hiding the treasure within. These weren't just treats. They were small celebrations. Children loved the moment of discovery when the filling burst across their tongue, and adults valued how well the cookies kept in tins for days, ready for lunch boxes or afternoon coffee. Their decline came slowly as convenience cookies in bright packages replaced the careful rolling, filling, and baking at home. Yet for many, the memory of biting through that golden crust into a soft spice center remains one of the sweetest tastes of childhood. Pickled pig's feet. Step into a corner grocery of the 1930s, shelves lined with glass jars holding something that made children stare and adults nod knowingly: pickled pig's feet. These weren't delicacies for the faint of heart. Butchers cleaned and split the feet, packing them into jars with vinegar, salt, and spices. Weeks later, the meat turned tender, tangy, and gelatin-rich, preserved without need for refrigeration. Families ate them cold, sometimes with crackers or beer, sometimes chopped into salads. The sharp vinegar cut through the richness, turning what might have been waste into something memorable. For working men, they were a cheap protein. For children, a curiosity they might or might not dare to try. As modern refrigeration and new cuts of meat became widely available, pickled pig's feet slowly vanished from everyday tables. But they linger in memory as proof of a time when thrift and ingenuity made every part of the animal count. Molasses taffy. On chilly evenings in the 1920s, kitchens became candy shops. A pot of molasses, sugar, and butter bubbled on the stove until it reached that perfect sticky stage. Then came the real magic: pouring the hot syrup onto buttered platters, waiting just long enough, and gathering the family around to pull it. Hands stretched and folded the glossy ropes back and forth, laughter filling the room as the candy lightened in color and turned chewy. This wasn't just a treat, it was an event. Children worked in pairs, tugging until their arms ached, then tasting the warm, deep-flavored strands. The flavor was bold, almost smoky sweet, a taste that lingered longer than the candy itself. Wrapped in wax paper, each piece felt like a prize of effort and togetherness. With the rise of store-bought candies, the tradition of pulling taffy by hand faded, yet the memory of sticky fingers, shared laughter, and the rich molasses tang remains a golden thread in family histories. Between raisin-filled cookies, pickled pig's feet, and this old-fashioned taffy, if you could bring back one, which would it be? Dutch oven peach cobbler. Picture a campfire evening on the open range in the 1930s, the sun sinking low, while a black iron Dutch oven sat buried in glowing coals. Inside, dried peaches rehydrated slowly, their sweetness seeping into bubbling juices, while dollops of biscuit dough rose into a golden tender crust. The aroma drifted through the night air, drawing cowboys from their bedrolls like moths to a lantern. This dessert was more than food, it was camaraderie. After long days of dust and hard work, sharing peach cobbler under the stars turned hardship into celebration. Old-timers had a trick: hold your hand above the coals and count to 8. If you could, last the heat was just right. No thermometer needed, only wisdom passed down from countless cooks before. Over time, cobbler became a kitchen dessert baked in shiny pans, but its roots belong to the fire, the trail, and the bond of weary riders. Every spoonful carried not just fruit and crust, but the warmth of stories told around flickering flames. Don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgia and retro memories. These recipes may no longer appear on our dinner tables, but their flavors remain etched in memory, reminders of resilience, love, and togetherness. From macaroni salad that stretched a single pound of pasta to peach cobbler baked under the stars, each dish carried more than nourishment. It carried stories. Times and tastes have changed, but the heart behind these meals lives on in every memory shared. Which of these forgotten dishes would you love to taste again? Don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgia and retro memories.